Welcome, everybody, to Viva Alive. And today's episode with Daniela Lemos is Is stress affecting your decisions? And what could that possibly mean? Because everybody learns to push through stress, to stay as focused as possible and try hard to, I'll call it perform. But what nobody is looking at is the costs that are involved when we are stressed in our capacities to make choices and decisions, that we think that it's all going to be okay if we try harder. Daniela, I know you have a lot of clients in this field. Tell me what your perception is on that.
Oh, I have some clients. Hi everybody. First of all, welcome to welcome back to episode 2. And I have some client and it's curious because sometimes this kind of people is competent people and work situation in family and relationships, but I've worked with competential, people and very prepared with strong strategy capacity. But in moments of stress, they start making much more reactive decisions, right? Sometimes they say yes when they actually want to say no. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's true. Well, it's true for both of us. We both work with people who are high capacity and C-suite kinds of people, where it's part of our what we contribute to the world and people, and what for them it's ultimately incredibly important to make decisions and choices that are are as great as they can be. I'm just going to put it that way.
Yeah.
And and what happens is it's not to do with competence, to your point, Daniela. What happens when we are chronically stressed is our field of information, our ability to see what's available actually narrows, which is a funny thing. So like the narrowing of our field of, I just call it field of possibilities. You have to make a choice about something, and all of a sudden, all you see is two choices, because what happens is the mind and the brain hijacks all that's going on in your world. Like it's hijacks. It goes, I can't handle anymore, so I'm just going to give you this narrower perspective, which is kind of funny because that's when we actually need a broader perspective, right?
Right. Yes, yes. I have another situation from my clients, the person when from a family environment.
Hmm.
When person arrives home already stressed with their body with tension, and any small situation turns into a bigger reaction than it should. Yeah, they respond more, harshly, lose patience more quickly. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
sometimes it's
yeah, well, that perfectly makes sense because you're already highly reactive from the tension that you had during the day. Well, you don't have to be highly reactive, but you're already pushing the envelope. And there's actually physiological reasons behind that. It's not just because your mind is like you're tense and you need to react. There's things that go on with the brain and the mind that actually create it so that we are more highly reactive when we are stressed. The more stressed we are, the more reactive we are. And then we try to be patient, but it's like putting a lid on a pressure cooker. Is a pressure cooker something that they have in Brazil?
Mm, yeah,
Okay. Just so pressure cooker, in case you're not familiar with it, it's not a microwave. It is where you put a lid on a pot and you create something to cook quickly so that it builds up pressure. And the pressure is the thing that creates the thing to cook faster and better. And when you want to um, take the lid off the pot, what you do is you release a steam valve so that the steam escapes so that the pot doesn't explode when you take the lid off. But basically, most people who are stressed are walking around like a pressure cooker.
Yeah, yeah,
And they have all of this internal, not necessarily external, agitation going on that makes them more reactive. So now they have stress at work. They become reactive because they have all of this extra tension when they get home. And now you have 24/7 stress because maybe everybody at your house isn't so happy with you, you know, churning things around.
yeah, yeah. And when the body, I think, is under stress, it's not focused on expansion. I think it's focusing on survival, right?
Is it focused on
And
which? I'm sorry? Oh,
survivor,
survival. Yes, absolutely.
yeah, yeah. When you are this survivor mode, I think your choice become shorter, faster, and more reactive, right?
Yes, for sure. And but the thing is that people have gotten so good at managing their lives as stress, they're not even aware that their areas of focus or decision making processes have become narrow and they become evident. Like the people went become more evident when people start to get burnout. It becomes so obvious because it's very clearly obvious behavioral changes when people are burnt out. And a huge number of people are saying that they're burnt out these days. I like it's in the 75% range. So then how many people around the world are functioning from less than what it is that's possible for them and create environments for them and their families, not because they intend to, but this element of being able to undo the long term stress that gets accumulated in the body and in the mind and the brain. And it's the long term, so it's not just situational. It's the
Right.
long term stuff. And you can't really change long term stress from doing breathing exercises. That's the challenge. Like, so how do we what are the things, Daniela, that you have come across in your practice that you share with clients? Is there anything you'd like to share there you like to use with clients to help to manage this reactivity?
Yeah, yeah. First of all, I like to explain then what's happened sometimes because I you know that I like behavior science.
Yes.
And for our brain was not designed to make perfect decisions and it was designed to save energies. So that's why we use mental shortcuts all the time. These shortcuts are called heuristics, yeah? And I think they pathway the brain uses to decide without needing to think too much. But the problem is that when we are under stress, these shortcuts become even more active. Okay. So, under stress, you don't just decide faster, you decide sometimes worse, right?
Well, yeah, like narrower. Like, what is the fastest way to undo the scenario that's pushing? Um, it's a great idea to look at this. That it's like, here I have to make this decision now. What's the fastest way to get it off my plate so that the intensity that's built up in my sense of living isn't there anymore?
Yeah.
That survival thing. Like I need to get this away off my field because it's too intense, way too much to handle. Is that how you would? Um, that's how I put it. How about you, Danielle?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because when someone is stressed, they are not actually choosing; they are reacting. Yeah, and this
Mostly.
yes, sometimes, but because I see in this impacts every area of life, like financial decisions, relationships, career, health, and the most of time they don't even realize it.
That is the biggest part, is the not realizing what it is that's really going on. Because most of us, over time, have learned to um, walk through the lives we've created, the lives and the jobs we've created, and it's learned, and we think we're handling it,
Yeah.
and yet there's we're not. And stress is not something that you can actually. It's not a disease. You can't take a pill for it. You can't determine it because for each person, what it is that's stressful is different.
Yeah.
For me, talking to certain kinds of people is very stressful. Not all people, just certain kinds. And it's funny. I the other day I decided that I would, when we're looking for ways to manage. So I would say I'm what would be considered type A personality. Always on the go, high performer, always pushing for more. Don't try to stop me because that will really make me crazy if you try to stop me, or if I try to stop me, even. So I looked at the other day and I went, what is this? Even though all the tools I know are possible, what is this dynamic tension
Yeah.
that I have a sense of that I'm always kind of on? There's a way to function where there's relaxation and on, which is the most optimal way of functioning. How could you be relaxed and be on? Because it's the most optimal. And it was kind of funny because I decided to go to my acupuncturist. And my acupuncturist said to me, I said, "So what is this thing?" Because she kept on going and measuring my pulse and saying, "Yep, stressed." I went, "I'm so relaxed. What are you talking about?" But right? And and it was interesting because I went, "Okay, so let's do this. Let's spend some time undoing the elements that created this internal dynamic tension that I am not aware of, but she can definitely feel." And I do work on stress and all kinds of things all day, every day. I had to start looking at what is it that what decision did I make? What choice did I make that has created this element where I can sense it, this dynamic tension.
Yeah.
And it's kind of that desire for me, what I'll just share with you guys, what was there is like I know there's so much more for people. I know that there's so much more for the world. And that's what creates that dynamic tension for me. So that was like an interesting inquiry, right?
Yeah. So I think there is a very simple question that can already start to change this. Can I do some questions? Is this a choice or a reaction? Because just asking these questions creates more space, right?
So you use that with your clients. Is this a
Yes,
choice or a reaction?
yes, yes, yes. I think
So
this space is what allows a different choice.
so do people know that when they are reacting, or are they just not aware that they're living from reaction?
Yeah. Oh, this is my question because I was thinking in a scientific way sometimes, what is the simple way people can recognize they are under stress before make a decision?
Well, I had to go to an acupuncturist for her to measure my energetic field with her with the pulse to know that that was going on. And I talk about stress. I do everything about stress for people all day long. But for me, it wasn't cognitively there.
Okay.
So, what could we ask? What could people ask themselves that would give them a sense of stress? Because we get used to it, so we're not even aware of it. So, what
Yeah.
question do you think would be a question people could use to get a sense of, am I stressed? Or is that the right question, or is it a different question?
Um, okay. Let me. Why did I react that way? Maybe we can start to think more
Okay,
about it. Or why do
cool.
I keep choosing the same partners, the same partners?
Well, that's a really great question. So, what is it that keeps people choosing the same things that keeps them stressed? Because obviously, there's somewhere along the line that they've created a choice or choices that keep them on that being where there's this dynamic tension.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. I think because the body always gives some signals, right? Like
What's that?
tension, because the body always gives signals, maybe like tension, urgency, shallow breathing, mental confusing, something like that.
Well, yes. Yeah, that's true. The body is always giving us messages. But most people turn them off.
Yeah, yeah.
And what's interesting is having those elements, not just handling them. Like some people go, oh, I have shallow breathing, let me stop and do a 1 minute or a 5 minute breathing exercise so that I'm calmer, right?
Many times we ignore these signals, right? And still make important decisions.
Well, and the thing is that if it is that there's something there that you're noticing that there's shallow breathing, the body is giving you a sign that there's something there you need to pay attention to. It's not that it's giving you a sign that, well, it is giving you a sign that something is not congruent and working.
Yeah.
But we can have enormous amounts of things come our way if our perspectives or if we are congruent with what it is that's going on. It doesn't cause us stress if we don't have a point of view or a perception that it's against us or that we need to do something about it. Because stress is relevant to the perspective of the person.
Yeah.
I'll give you an example, if that would be helpful, helpful for everybody. So the other day, I looked at my in basket. So many things to do, asking for so many more things, and I know I could do them all myself. I can kind of do everything. And yet, it stops me from having more and creating more by choosing to do it all myself. So I looked at it and I went, oh, that's like not going to work. And I could sense the tension of the so many things to do. So there's ways we can go here. I'm not going to do this. I'm going to take all of these things that are better done by somebody else and give them to somebody else who can do them. That's probably far more talented at it than I am. And as soon as I offloaded them, I'll call it offloading, but handed them to someone else who was really capable, I noticed my whole body relax. Like, oh, it's not required. Don't have to do it all myself. I don't even have to control it. I can have it, somebody else who's super brilliant at what they do it instead. And that was really helpful. And then, you know, people would say, well, how come you didn't do it before? I had the point of view that A, I could handle it faster than most people, and B, all of you need to don't spend money on things that you can do yourself, which was not my point of view. I go, I'm not doing it that way. I'm going to give it to someone who can do it so I can create the things that are in the bigger picture.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. I think when the body relax, you regain access to awareness. And when
Yes,
you have awareness, you start making different choices.
that's true.
And yeah.
That's true. And
And
and it's the relaxation part that is the important part. Because what we're taught to do in this world is to keep pushing. Try harder, get more focused. Push harder, you can handle it. And if you just get through the day, it'll be better tomorrow. And the relaxation part is as though you're not doing anything, but you can be doing everything
yeah.
or being everything.
Yeah, and this is exactly where tools like access bars come in. And
Well, so say more about that, Daniela.
because I often say with my clients session, and even in moments when you become more present,
Yeah,
your architecture of choice begins to change, you know?
that's true.
In other words, you start making decisions more space, more awareness, less reactivity, and much more aligned with what true works for you.
Yeah, because how many things do we learn over time or become over time that aren't really congruent with who we are?
Mm.
Like we do it because that's what makes everybody happy around us. And somehow, if we make everybody else happy around us, then they won't bug us so much. But it
Well,
doesn't work that way. So, say a little bit more about access bars, because that's how you and I met.
yeah.
And a lot of people may not know about it. It's one of the things that I've done a lot of scientific research on. But say more about that for people who may not know about access bars um, as a tool.
Yeah, it's just very easy too, and bring us more awareness and less reactivity. I think, yeah, for me, it was like mental clarity was completely different. And when stress level decrease, um, something shifts completely. You don't need to try harder to make better decisions. And for me and for my clients, you simply start choosing differently. I
Mm.
think the best, one of the benefits that access bars bring to me and to other people. Yes, and relaxation and be more present. And you can feel I can feel in my body, my mind, and makes me very more healthy, actually.
Well, it's impossible to be unwell when you function from a state of um, coherence with you. It is virtually, you cannot even age in a coherent field, which is a whole other conversation in and of itself. But it's that when you become more congruent with who you are, which is not all the things we've taken on over time, um, it's kind of interesting because people start to become more joyous inside.
Yeah.
And who wouldn't want to have more joy? Well, considering we called this podcast Alive, it really is an invitation for people to start living from being alive, not just walking through the world on autopilot. And it's so easy to live on autopilot when you're handling a lot of stress.
When you have to decide faster, right?
Yeah. Well, you can decide quickly also from a place of relaxation.
Exactly. A different space.
Well, you can see multiple choices that you have available to you, not the narrowing one, which is what I shared in the beginning of this conversation. It's like our choices become narrow the more stressed we are. And if the choices became bigger, how many more choices would we have in front of us? And what would that create as a way of handling things, you know?
Mhm. Yes.
So Daniela, what question can we leave people with today? Every episode we're going to leave people with a question they can
Yeah.
use so that they can use it in their lives to have their lives be greater. So what question shall we leave them with today?
Okay. I think it's a good question. It's how can I reduce stress so I can truly choose?
Okay. Fabulous. That is such a great question. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today on Aviva Alive. We invite you every moment. What can you be to have more aliveness in your world? And thank you for joining us. We'll see you next week.
Thank you very much.
Bye.